Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Going to have a conversation with returning guest, Dr. Mike Clayman. Now, Mike is CEO of Flexion. Flexion is a biopharmaceutical company coming back today to talk about some preclinical studies on FX201. That's a locally administered gene therapy, and I'll let Mike tell us all about it. Welcome back, Mike. Thanks for returning.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me back, Neil. It's a pleasure. Let me just kind of back up by saying, just to provide a frame for what we're trying to accomplish and kind of reiterate just in a sentence or two the problem associated with osteoarthritis. And just put it in the context of the U.S. because those are the data that we're most familiar with, but it's a prevalent problem around the world. 30 million patients with symptomatic osteoarthritis, 15 million of those with symptomatic knee osteoarthritis who see their doctors each year. And the leading symptom of this condition is pain and compromised function. And in the U.S., from the time you're diagnosed with knee osteoarthritis for the rest of your life, you carry a 50% chance of having your knee replaced. So it is a disease that progresses, and knee replacement reflects typically the progression of pain that has become refractory to available therapies, and surgery becomes the final option. What we've done at Flexion is just briefly, we've introduced our first product, Retta, a microsphere-based steroid that provides meaningful, substantial degrees of pain relief for at least 12 to 16 weeks, and which we've launched, got approved by the FDA a year and a half ago, have launched the product, and is making a real difference for patients as we speak. But we're not stopping there, and we're building a pipeline, and next up for us is FX201, that is our gene therapy. And just a sentence or two about gene therapy. At level, what gene therapy does is take a gene of interest and encapsulate it, typically a viral particle that won't cause disease, gets injected into the body, taken up by the cells of the body, and then that strand of DNA, which is the gene, instructs the cell to make the protein of interest. And what FX201 is a gene therapy. It's in what's called a helper-dependent adenovirus, and we've put in there a strand of DNA that encodes a protein called interleukin-1 receptor antagonist. This is a protein that we all have in our body. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory protein, and it rises and falls in response to inflammation, but what we found is there's just not enough of it around to quell the inflammation that's associated with osteoarthritis. And the idea here is to supply the cells lining the joint by injecting this gene therapy into the joint itself, taken up by the cells of the joint, to have those cells become factories for the production of interleukin-1 receptor antagonists. And I think one of the elegant elements of this, and just to point out, we in-licensed this from a company named GeneQuine, who had taken the technology, this approach, this virus, from the laboratory, out-licensed it from the laboratory of Dr. Philip Ng at Baylor University. But this IL-1RA gene is under the control of what is called an inflammation-sensitive promoter. Think about it as a light switch that allows the IL-1RA gene to turn on or off. And that promoter turns on the IL-1RA gene in the setting of inflammation. When it sees an inflammatory mediator, it turns on the gene. So the way to think about FX201 is in terms of inflammation-sensitive anti-inflammatory effect, or more simply, on-demand anti-inflammatory effect. So you have a knee osteoarthritis patient, you have this viral particle, this FX201 that's been injected, taken up by the cells. Inflammation is there frequently, typically in the setting of osteoarthritis. Now the gene is turned on, it produces this IL-1RA, which suppresses the inflammation. Once the inflammation is suppressed, there's no longer the mediator that would turn on the gene, so the gene turns off. So we like it as a kind of finely tuned approach to the production of a protein. One of the beauties of this approach, Neil, is it's a local therapy, and again, Flexion is all about local therapy. So it's injected into the knee, and this gives us the opportunity to dose down substantially from what would be required in terms of number of viral particles if this were otherwise being administered systemically to achieve a systemic effect. We're trying to achieve a local effect, and we expect, and we'll have to show this, that we can dose down by at least a couple of orders of magnitude, like 100-fold or more, to achieve the effect we want. I'll just say this, Neil, in the preclinical studies, in the animal studies, and that's all we have now, we're moving in the direction of filing an IND and initiating clinical work later this year. The preclinical studies, a single administration of FX201 resulted in meaningful and appropriate production of IL-1RA and the suppression of inflammation for at least a year after a single injection, and that was the duration of the experiment. So it's very possible that it would extend beyond that. And in a different animal model, a highly validated animal model of osteoarthritis disease progression, this approach, this FX201, demonstrated substantial slowing of disease progression. And when we put FX201 into the clinic, we'll be evaluating pain relief, magnitude of pain relief, duration of pain relief, but also imaging evidence of slowing of disease progression, which is a holy grail in osteoarthritis. There is no therapy that slows disease progression.
So as far as painless therapy, that's something that is still yet to be determined with these human trials that are coming up. What types of patients do you anticipate participating in the study as far as age, severity of the condition, and underlying conditions in this study?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. There's a whole spectrum from at one end, the most selected population would be a population of patients with evidence of rapidly progressing disease who might be expected to benefit particularly from this. At the other end of the spectrum would be an all-comers population, everyone with moderate to severe osteoarthritis, knee pain. And I'll simply say that we're refining our thinking on what would constitute the most appropriate population for the initial clinical study. So I can't give you a definite answer to that, but it's a very good question.
But the trial should be taking place this year, I do understand, yeah?
That is the plan. We are finishing up our toxicology studies. And assuming that those toxicology studies generate supportive data, we'll be filing an IND in the second half of this year. And then initiating clinical studies, assuming the IND goes through as we would expect, before the end of the year.
Well, I'm hoping that you'll come back and keep us updated as these trials continue on to their final anticipated approval. Thanks for coming back, Mike. It's always a pleasure, man.
Neil, it was a genuine pleasure, and I very much appreciate you having us back, and would love to come back at the right time to share, ideally, some clinical data with you and your listeners.
Where can we go online and get some more information about Flexion?
Yeah, the website is www.flexion, Flexion, therapeutics.com.
Thanks for joining us again, and hope to talk to you again soon, Mike.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Neil.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au.
Thank you for listening to Health Professional Radio. We're very proud to be an independent broadcaster providing our content free of charge to you, the listener. One of the ways that we're able to remain free and independent is by having people like you become patrons. You can support Health Professional Radio simply by visiting hpr.fm and clicking the button that says Become a Patron. Your patronage of even just $1 a month lets us know that you're there, which in turn makes us more valuable to advertisers. And, of course, if you're able to afford more, then we would certainly appreciate the support. My name is Toby Longhurst from Health Professional Radio. Please visit hpr.fm, click the Become a Patron button, and support us if you can.